renewable heat now, all our energy, Better Buildings New York, Climate Solutions Accelerator, Fossil-Free Tompkins, Mothers Out Front, Network for a Sustainable Tomorrow, New York City 2030 District, Rewiring America, Sane, Sierra Club, and Tompkins County Climate Protection Initiative. So we are not just here to say that we do not want any slowdowns or carve-outs in the All-Electric Buildings Act. We are also here to say that we have so much more to do to make the future that we need, and that is continuing to include NYHEAT Act in the budget and to pass it. So I'm very proud to have two of my colleagues here who are the sponsors of that bill. First, we'll hear from Senator Liz Krueger.
Thank you. You have to go farther down. Thank you so much. I'm so proud to stand with all of you. It is crucial that we get all of these bills passed because guess what? We don't have another planet to go to. We have to be concerned for our children and our grandchildren and the future of civilization. So there are some people saying, why are we rushing? We know why we're rushing, because we're so far behind where we have to be. And they're saying, should we be inconvenienced? Well, guess what? In order to save our planet, we all have to make some changes. But we can, and we know how, and we have alternatives. So the heat bill says, stop making consumers pay $200 million a year for the last 100 feet of gas connections to buildings that are being built. We don't want gas in the buildings that are being built now. Why should consumers pay to put the pipelines in? That's ridiculous. Tell those utility companies, spend that money on a better electric grid, on improvements at the community level to make sure we can transition as quickly as possible off fossil fuels. That's what we should be investing in, not the old, unsustainable fossil fuel model that got us in all of this trouble in the first place. So thank you all for all of your support, all your hard work, and we are fighting as hard as we can to get us where we all know we need to go. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll hear from the Assembly sponsor of the HEAT Act, Pat Fahy.
Thank you. I'll take the senator's lead and talk from here. Thank you, Emily Gallagher, for your leadership, as well as Brian Kavanagh on the all-electric buildings. It's so encouraging. Thank you to Senator Krueger, who I carry the HEAT Act bill with. Always so proud to work with Senator Kavanagh for her extraordinary leadership. The time is now. The time is now. 100 groups. Emily just named off a few of the groups who are supportive of this legislation, and I am very grateful to have your support because you are the future. You are going to make the difference as we transition, and we know we need to transition rapidly. Just yesterday, the UN, the United Nations, issued yet another report, this time saying that we will surpass the limit that they had been advocating for years of 1.5 Celsius in terms of global temperature change. We're going to surpass it. We've got to counteract that. We've got to stop what we're doing. It begins with bills like the all-electric bill, as well as the HEAT Act, which will save consumers money because we are trying not to have this mandatory hookup of 100 feet. So this will save. We need money at the front end. We need the incentives to make this work. But this is about changing and keeping us healthier and cleaner. Thank you, everybody. An honor to stand with all of you, including my amazing colleagues, Deborah Glick, Linda Rosenthal, and Senator May. Such a pleasure. And Steve Otis. Thank you. Thank you.
There is a strong cohort of environmentalists in the Assembly and in the Senate who have been working together so closely to get us where we need to be. And I am so proud to be standing here not only with them, but also with people from across the state, including so many young people. This is the future that we are fighting for. We are going to be feeling the effects of the climate crisis increasingly every single year. We have to work together in lockstep to make sure that we are protecting the future of our generations and the future of our planet at large. I would like to now introduce the chair of the Environmental Committee on the New York State Assembly, for the New York State Assembly, Deborah Glick.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank all of you for being here today to ensure that the message is sent loud and clear that we have to take immediate action. We're not rushing it. We're way behind. And when people say we're inconvenienced, well, what about the 500-year flood every other year? That's an inconvenience. We're here to say we have to transition as quickly as possible. It means new transmission lines, a stronger grid, more renewables. It means we have to ensure that we're not poisoning the planet with fossil fuels and residual materials like plastics. So they're going to make more of it if we stop using fossil fuels. They're going to be pushing their byproduct, which is plastics, which we don't need either. So thank you for being here. Let's make sure that we get across the finish line with all electric buildings, the New York Heat Act, and congratulations to the sponsors who have done such a great job because they have you backing them up. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce my Senate sponsor of the All Electric Buildings Act, Brian Kavanagh.
Thank you very much. You know, the state legislature and Albany in general, I think, have put behind a very bad reputation we had over many years about long delays and difficulty getting big things done. In the last few years, in every area of public policy, we have taken major steps forward. And most significantly, perhaps, is the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act of 2019, which set the stage for New York to have the most aggressive mandated targets and the most aggressive response to climate change of any state in America. But we now are in the throes of the effort to really put teeth into those requirements, to put the resources on the table that are going to be necessary to make the transitions we need to make in just and fair and effective ways. A big part of that is to address the building sector. We know that our buildings, heating them, cooling them, providing appliances in them, cooking in them, we know that that sector is a big part of our problem. It is a big part of the fact that we continue to contribute to the systematic destruction of the habitability of our planet. If you said something at a press conference years ago, people would say, what crazy talk is that? That is the fact. We are systematically destroying the habitability of the planet in ways that we have known for a long time are destructive. It is time to change that. It is a great thing now that we have a governor, we have an assembly, thanks to especially the great work of my sponsor, who I used to work with in Brooklyn before I was evicted from Brooklyn, Emily Gallagher. And of course, great champions who have joined us in the Senate to get this done. All three of the parties in this negotiations are close. There are some minor differences among the bills, but this is the time to get this done. The budget's due next Friday. Let's get it done then. Thank you.
The climate crisis is so deeply felt in the Hudson Valley of New York State that Sarah Hannah Shrestha was elected on her belief in following through and protecting us from the catastrophe that's headed our way. So next up, I'd like to hear from Assemblymember Sarah Hannah Shrestha.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah Hannah Shrestha. I represent the district in Mid-Hudson Valley, the 103rd. I was told that the Hudson Valley has one of the highest concentrations of environmental activists, and I do believe that to be true. We know that the fossil fuel industry is misleading people and spending a lot of money against the policies that we are championing because they know that if we implement these policies, electric buildings, public renewables, that people will like it so much that their existence is going to be absolutely threatened. When people get electric buildings, they're not going to want to go back to fossil fuel. When people see their bills and see that renewables are more affordable, that they are more reliable, especially when we are producing it at a mass scale through the New York Power Authority, which we should absolutely instruct it to do, and we bring workers to the forefront when we do this. We bring environmental justice communities to the forefront when we do this. People are going to love it, and they're not going to want to go back. And we are the messengers because we are being bullied and we are being intimidated into giving up and dropping these policies that we have to make a lot of loud noise on. And that's why we're here today. I see a lot of people from the Hudson Valley. Let's get this done. Let's lead on climate. Thank you.
Next, we're going to Central New York, to one of the places that has led on electrification, which is Ithaca and its surrounding regions, by hearing from Leah Webb.
All right. Are we all here for climate change? Okay, so my name is Senator Leah Webb. I don't know if you can really hear me with the mic or not, but I represent Tompkins County, Broome, and Cortland counties. And so one of the things that I'm always fascinated with in these conversations is that what we're talking about in these policies are centering the needs of our planet and people. And these should not be conflicting things, right? And so when you have great policies that center both, it is a requirement for all of us, not just as elected officials, not just as leaders, but as a larger community, to ensure that we put those resources in place that center the needs of our communities and our planet. I have an area where we've had, as one of the speakers said before me, significant issues with flooding. And what that does is that when those floods happen, those communities don't just bounce back. There are still, in my district, people who have never been able to come back home because of the issues with flooding. And so that leads to other environmental hazards as well, not having access to clean water, and the list goes on and on. And so it is important for us, not just simply in this budget, but this budget is a great place to start, to ensure that we continue to make equitable investments in our planet and our people. And so I want to thank everyone who's come here from all over the state. Thank you to all my colleagues in the Senate and the Assembly. Let's keep moving forward and fighting for these important pieces of legislation that will improve the lives of our communities, not just in this budget cycle, but moving forward. Thank you.
All right, we're going to stay in the Senate, and we are going to go to three places at once: Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens, with Senator Kristen Gonzalez.
How are we feeling today? Woo! Feeling good? Hi, everybody. My name is Kristen Gonzalez, and as you heard, I represent a tri-borough district. And on both sides of the river, I know my constituents support the All Electric Buildings Act because, as you heard earlier today, we represent generations of New Yorkers who have suffered at the hands of fossil fuel, that have suffered at the hands of billionaires that are profiting off of poisoning our land and poisoning our air.
Last year, we came close to passing the Build Public Renewables Act. This year, we're fighting for it again, but we're taking it a step further with the All-Electric Buildings Act. It has to happen now. So I am so grateful. Woo! I am so grateful and appreciative for all of you who have been doing the work, who have gotten us to this point, for Assemblymember Gallagher for leading the fight to bring justice to her constituents. And this is a critical moment. We know we're close. We have 2 weeks, and we are sending the message that we will not leave Albany unless we pass the All-Electric Buildings Act. It makes sense. It creates green jobs. It helps our climate. It is a bill that needs to happen because we all benefit. So I'm going to make an ask too today. On that note, as we fight, as we come together to do this, it is actually our lead organizer's birthday tomorrow. And if we can take 2 seconds to wish her, Emily Gallagher, a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Emily. Let's let Hochul know that the best birthday gift for Emily Gallagher, Assemblywoman, is to pass this bill. Let's do it.
Get yourself your own senator that remembers your birthday, and you'll be great. Yes, and I just want to give a shout out, speaking about my district, this week the work of so many of the activists here, including Sane Energy, beat back the vaporizers that were meant to be built in my district. So, woo! We are all working together to make a new future, the future that we deserve. And that future might look a lot like Syracuse, with fresh water, with beautiful farmland. We have and clean air. We have from Syracuse Senator Rachel May.
Wow, you look great, everybody. So good to see you all. I want to add one thing that hasn't been talked about here, because gas-free buildings, I'm on both the Environment and the Health Committee in the Senate. Gas-free buildings are healthier buildings. If we can get the gas out of our buildings with the New York HEAT Act and the All-Electric Buildings Act, they're safer, they're more comfortable, and they are healthier. A lot less disease from carbon monoxide and all the poisons that we get from our gas heat. So everybody who's trying to scare us about somehow electric buildings are, inferior, they're wrong. They're just dead wrong. I want to shout out Maggie Riley, who's here, from one of my former constituents from town of Kirkland. She sat all day through the budget hearing on environment so she could testify about heat pumps, and not just how efficient they are, but how comfortable they are, how much better the quality of life is if we make this transition. So we have to do it. I am so grateful to our sponsors in both houses for pushing this forward. I want to shout out Kristen Williams from my office, who worked really hard on the HEAT Act too. And we got to get this done. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And we have more than one amazing champion from Syracuse. Someone who this bill would not be moving without is Al Sturpey, who has been such a visionary in this process. So I'm really excited to hear from him. Yeah, Al.
Thank you, Emily. And thank you, everybody. The last time I was here, I talked about all the years that I've been hearing people slow down. We're moving too fast. We've got to look at this again. And I said at that point, there's no more time. Now, the United Nations has told us there's less than no more time. We really have to do something now. So I just want to make sure that everybody stays loud and stays proud throughout this whole event. We got to get this across the line, all right? There's no more time. No more time. There's no more time.
No more time.
All right.
No more time. No more time. No more time. Now we're gonna stay in the assembly with a fantastic environmental champion who was just elected this year, Assemblymember Grace Lee.
Thank you so much to my colleague, Emily Gallagher, who's been an incredible organizer. Let's give it up for her. Woo! I am a mother, and I believe that the planet that we leave our children is our obligation and our duty to leave a planet that is better than the one that was left us. And right now in my district, along the shoreline, New York State, New York City are spending billions of dollars on rising tides, rising water. But now, we need to be investing in the root causes of climate change, not trying to be reactionary to what is happening to our city and our state and our country. So I am proud to support the All Electrics Building Act and the Climate Change Superfund Act. We need to make sure that we are ahead of things and make sure that we leave a planet that is better for future generations. Thank you.
We have so many fantastic champions all across the state. I am going to go back upstate a little bit now, and we have Dana Levenberg here, who's an assembly member, and then we'll have Mary Jane Shimsky. Great. And then we'll have Steve Otis.
Thank you so much to my colleague, Emily Gallagher. My name is Dana Levenberg, as mentioned, and I represent a couple of environmental justice communities, including Ossining and Peekskill, up along the Hudson River, all the way from Ossining up to the town of Phillipstown in Putnam County. And what do we have there? What is one of the main economic engines is our Hudson line, the Hudson line, not to mention the beautiful river. And all of these are threatened by climate change, including the Hudson line being threatened to be underwater in 80 years, and in some parts it already is underwater. So we need to make sure we do everything we can. And I just heard today, actually, I was speaking to somebody from New York Civil Liberties Union about not wanting to cite schools, not wanting to build new schools too close to roads because of the emissions and how dangerous it is. Well, guess what? If we start segueing to all electric, those emissions are going to be gone. We will be able to breathe cleaner when we're by our roads. We'll certainly be able to breathe cleaner when we put our heads down at night if we electrify our buildings. This is something that we have to do. There is no time left. Like my colleague, Assemblyman Sturby said, we've waited too long. We need to act now, and we cannot wait. We must pass the All Electric Buildings Act. So thank you again for all of the advocates here today for your advocacy. You are incredible. Let's get it done.
And now we'll have Mary Jane Shimsky, another great new member who I love.
I am so glad that you are all here. Albany needs to hear from all of you. We know that the floodwaters are rising. Dana talked about how the Hudson line is going to be underwater in 80 years. Well, it's going to keep getting flooded out, so it's unusable before 80 years. We're talking about building high-rise apartments near a line that's going to be underwater. We have to go to first things first. The biggest cause of climate emissions at this point is our buildings. There is so much technology that we could put to bear to make that not happen anymore. We need to push electrification of our buildings now. And you know, we all know it's not just climate change, right? It's asthma. It's respiratory diseases. Cardiovascular diseases, thank you. All of the pollution in the air has been causing horrendous health problems ever since we went to such large quantities of coal and oil and gas. The time to get off them is now. There is no more time. No more time. No more time. No more time.
No more time. No more time. No more time. No more time. Okay. So, there is some more time in our press conference, though. So, one of the first people to come to me really passionate about all electric, who has taught me so much about all the technology that's available, is our chair of technology, Steve Otis, who has been an incredible resource and champion.
So I want to talk about urgency. We're here for urgency, right? So I looked on my phone, hold on right here, for the weather today. It's 52 degrees in Albany. You came to Albany. It's going to hit 61. It's March. What the hell's going on here? So, in fact, while I'm talking, it went up to 53. But it's too warm in the winter. We have these storms. There is urgency. So, thank you all for coming from all over the state. But this is the year. This is the year, thanks to Emily and her leadership, all electric is going to happen. Everybody agrees we need to do this. We need to work out the details, but we need no delay. We want to get it done in this budget, get it done now. We can do that. Thank you for coming. Let's get it done.
Thank you. Thank you. And I also want to give a shout out to my team, who are right here, Andrew and John, who are really making this stuff happen behind the scenes. Okay, so next up, we are going to have another brilliant climate thinker and assembly member, Anna Kellis.
Woo! Oh, you guys, you have no idea. Okay, so some of us, we haven't slept in days, and coffee's not working anymore. You guys are my adrenaline right now. Woo! Oh, I love it. I love it. My brain doesn't work so well, but it's all here with you 150%. One of the things that I think is the most important that we are talking about here is not that we're talking about just today. We are talking about no more natural gas infrastructure that will become a stranded asset that we will continue to pay for, that we will have to pay for just the infrastructure alone for the next 50 years, let alone our entire generation, our next generation, our next generation, our next generation, our next generation will be dealing with trying to clean up this mess. It is not acceptable, and that's why we are here today. It is not something that we can live with anymore. And what this says is no more new infrastructure going in the wrong direction. That's it. That's it. Now here's the deal. They will tell you, the opponents will say, this is not possible, right? Because the technology is not there. I am here to tell you that it is possible because my city has already done it. And we have been doing it. We have New York City proving it, showing us that we don't need to do this anymore. So do not tell me that we don't have proof. Secondly, I am so tired of hearing that we do not have the technology for the cold temperatures. That is BS. That is bullshit. I'm sorry, I just had to do it. It is not true. I live in one of the coldest zones in the state, And we are already building this infrastructure and no new natural gas in that city, in one of the coldest areas in the state. And let me say one last thing about this. I am so tired of being told that the efficiency of an air source heat pump doesn't work in cold temperatures. I have a natural gas system that I am trying to get off of, and I don't know about you all, but when it gets cold, is that efficient? No. I have like 3 sweatshirts on, and it's 60 degrees in my house because it's not working. So it is not true that a natural gas system is the right way to go. It doesn't work anymore for any reason. And here's the last thing I will say. We just had a huge explosion in Ohio, right? What were the gases? One of the main gases that came out, carbon monoxide. And we saw animals dying within 3 days of that explosion because of carbon monoxide poisoning. And what are we doing with a natural gas system? We are living in a home with carbon monoxide all day, every day, generation after generation, decade after decade. Small amounts affecting our health. No more. We are done. We are getting off of fossil fuel now.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Kellis. And we're going to end our tour of the state by coming right back to New York City with Bobby Carroll and Harvey Epstein. Yay! You first.
Brooklyn's before Manhattan in the alphabet, Harvey. Look, we're not going to end the climate crisis with plug-in hybrids. They're nice. They're great. You should get one if you drive. But if we're going to solve this crisis, we've got to solve the big industries. And in a place like New York City, 70% of our emissions comes from buildings. We need to take the hard but necessary steps to cut these emissions. That's what the All Electric Buildings Act does. So many people have come before me who've already said it very clearly. We have the technology. We need to have the will. That's what this is. We need to have the will. And the people who are against this, they want to play on fear and comfort. They want to tell you we're coming for your gas stove. You know what we're coming for? We're coming for your grandchildren. We're trying to make sure that your grandchildren and great-grandchildren can actually live in a planet. Because we could figure out how to heat up eggs a lot of different ways. So we need to get this done. We've got the infrastructure. We've got the technology. All we need is the will. We've got great leaders in Emily Gallagher and Brian Kavanagh. So let's just make sure that Governor Hochul, who we all stood behind, actually stands behind us for once.
So I really want to thank you all because this is about all of us. This is about our lives and our families and our future. And so we have opportunities right now, today, to say to our children and our grandchildren and our future that we cared about them, that we saw them, that we were there for them. And we made decisions today that impacted their future and their opportunity. That's what we're here talking about. That's what we're saying. We're not saying, oh, you got to be woke or you got to, you can't care about the environment if you don't do this. We're saying this is the future. And if you care, you need to act. So 1, we got to get this bill done now. Get it done in the budget and be done. And 2, then move forward with a comprehensive approach that we put together in the CLCPA that said this is going to be our future. We have to adjust to climate change. But first and foremost we have to do is to reduce our energy consumption, make sure we divert energy uses, and make sure we do what's right. This is not hard. This is not complicated. And I understand, we've heard from the doctor already, that the technology's there. So we have to believe the people who are trained to tell us this is the truth. We can't ignore the truth of what they're saying. So are we going to continue to fight for all electric? Yes! Are you going to come back day after day after day till we get this passed? Yes! Because I don't want to be here on April 2nd or on April 3rd and say we were so close. We are going to fight inside, but we need you with us fighting on the outside to make sure it gets done. So commit to being here. Who's coming back? Who's coming back? Who's going to make sure this gets done? With you all, we're going to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harvey. And now we're going to conclude with someone very, very important to this movement. We're going to hear from Ray Salter, who is a member of the New York State Climate Action Council and the founder and executive director of the Energy Justice Law and Policy Center. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Exactly. We are here today to hold New York State accountable for climate action. We're in the fight of our lives, and I'm so glad to be together with all of you. We need to move forward on legislation that will take New York State towards a just transition. Now, many of you, and I see all of you, you were there with me at that Climate Action Council every step of the way in that hallway. You had my back so I could have your back. And guess what? That's right. And we got a plan out of that process that is serious about ending fossil fuel use, that is serious about shutting down power plants, that is serious about getting gas out of the building sector. And guess what? There are folks in these hallways, and they're the only people who didn't vote for this plan, by the way, were the fossil fuel industry. And they are in these hallways. They gotta go, and guess what, industry? Be on notice. Your business model is going out the door. It's going out the door. Because you know why? Because the people and the planet and the natural world, our interests are more important than yours. They're more important than yours. And so we are going to double down on climate action in New York State. We need to see these laws happen now. We need a just transition. We need to end fossil fuels, shut down the power plants, get the gas out of the gas sector. And get the gas out of the gas sector. Get the gas sector out. And there you go. There you go. And the last thing I'll say is that I know I am doubling down on climate action. I know folks here are as well. The Energy Justice Law and Policy Center is the founding member of a new coalition, the Westchester Justice Alliance, and we're going to keep working with all of y'all to get this done right away. And that's what I got to say.
And to close out, we're going to have one of the most popular speakers from our last rally, Assemblymember Bill Colton.
Thank you. You know, I want everyone to understand and to know you are part of something that is really important. And what we are accomplishing is being done because of you and your voices. There was an attempt a while back to bring fracked gas into New York State. And I am convinced it was only because of you and the people before you, the grassroots, who stopped that from happening. You have the power. You have the numbers to get us off fossil fuels. So, as we approach this budget, we need to get the message across. We need to make sure that we start creating the infrastructure that will transition us and get us off fossil fuels. We need to make sure that electric power, clean electric power, is utilized instead of gas. We need to make sure that there's an infrastructure that will make it easy to be able to use clean power instead of dirty fossil fuel power. We need to make sure that we don't continue using gas in our buildings. We don't continue using gas in our cars. We don't continue polluting the environment with all the things that will ultimately lead to the destruction of what is good that we all need and want. So we're going to continue raising our voices. You're going to continue demanding. The grassroots has the power to do it. So, on to victory. On to clean fuel instead of dirty fossil fuel. Okay, thank you.